Okay, we are on Zayin and base. We are on 7b. We started the Gemara yesterday about machlokas. If there's, the Mishnah stated that if there's more sun than shade, then it's not a good sukkah. More sun than shade. What's Succah? Right. You have to have more shade. Succah, you have to have proper shade from the Succah in order for it to be kosher. And there's another opinion that says, but now the question is, what about if the sun is coming through the walls, and that's creating more sun than shade? Would that invalidate the sukkah? You have a proper schach, let's say you have proper walls, but at the end of the day, there's more sun. The way you made the walls. Now, let's say that there's more sun. Let's say we said you can have walls, let's say, that have a certain separation between each pole that can make up the walls. As long as you don't have more than 3 tvachim between, it's considered closed. But there's a lot of sun coming in. Would that invalidate the sukkah? So we said there's a machloket. One opinion says, Mordei Ariel said that it would validate the sukkah, and one opinion says that it would not invalidate the sukkah. And then the Gemara says, what's the reason for the opinion that says that it would invalidate the sukkah? But the Gemara says we found that schach, a covering, the word schach not only could refer to the ceiling, so to speak, the cover of the sukkah, even the walls of the sukkah could also be referred to as schach. Because we found the precedent that in the Beis HaMikdash, the mechitza, the paroches, the curtain in the mikdash, in the mishkan, in the desert that they had, the mishkan, the tabernacle. The Torah says, refers to the paroches, which is like the curtain, which serves as like a wall, so to speak. This curtain serves as a wall between the holy holies and the holies. The Torah refers to it as a covering. And if you could call the wall as a covering, as schach, so therefore it would have to have similar laws of the schach. And therefore it would have to be that there's more shade than sun. So that's what the Gemara wanted to say. That's the Gemara on Zayin B, 7b. In the art scroll, it's 7b1 on the right side. That's what the Gemara says. That Rav Yema, the bottom paragraph, Rav Yema bar Shleima Mishmid Abaye, my time with Rav Oshia. What's the reason of Rav Oshia? The Gemara says because the Ksiv v'Sakosa Aron says you use this paroches, this curtain serves as a covering for the Aron, and even though it was not a covering, it uses the language of covering. Morning, Yosef.
Good morning, Rabbi.
Morning. Parochet was a mechitza. The curtain in the Mishkan that separated the holy and holies, and outside the holy and holies was a mechitza. Yet the Torah refers to the curtain, the wall, as schach. So alma mechitza keschach beinan. So we see mechitza has to be like schach, and just as the schach provides shade, so the wall has to provide shade. If you call the wall a language of schach, that means it has to, what's the idea of schach? Schach has a covering. So too, this also has to serve as a covering. It has to provide more shade. The Gemara says, what do the Rabbanan hold? But the Rabbanan hold, we don't care about the sun coming in through the walls. The Rabbanan say, good morning, Jaime.
Good morning.
Good morning. Just to bring you up to date, the Gemara is discussing if the sun, we always spoke about a sukkah. A sukkah is like, the word sukkah means a covering. And the schach is, we call a sukkah because of the covering, that's why it's called schach. The question is, we know you have to have more shade than sun. So if you put schach, if you put a covering on your sukkah, you have a nice amount of schach, that makes it that you have more shade than sun. But what happens if the sun is coming in through the sides? It's not coming through the top of the sukkah. You have beautiful coverage of the sukkah. The sukkah is covered beautifully, beautiful schach. But the way you made the walls in a way that it did not block out so much sun, and there's more sun. As a result of that, there's more sun than shade. Is that going to invalidate the sukkah? You have proper coverage on top. You don't have coverage on the side from the sun. You have kosher walls. So the Rabbanan say it's kosher because that does not invalidate the sukkah, the sun coming in from the sides. As long as you have proper coverage on top, that you blocks the sun, that you have more shade than sun, you're good. That's good enough. However, the other opinion says no. You have to make sure that it's also that the walls have to also protect from the sun. That's what the Gemara wanted to say. And he brought the proof by the fact that the Torah refers to the wall, the mechitzah, the curtain, which is used like a wall in the Mishkan, which separated from the area of the Mishkan, which had the Kodesh HaKadoshim, which had the holy ark was an innermost area of the sanctuary. And then on the other side, you had a mizbeach, you had a golden mizbeach, you had the menorah, you had the shulchan. But there was something that separated, there was a curtain that separated between the place where you have the mizbeach, the place where you have the menorah, the place where you have the shulchan, and there was a curtain that separated. And the Torah referred to that curtain, used the language of coverage. And that curtain is like a wall. We see that the wall also has to protect from schach, from the sun. Good morning, Michael. We are on the last line on 7b. Is it clear, everybody? Is it clear what's going on here in the Gemara? So now we're on 7b1. We're trying to understand what's the opinion of Reb Oshia that says that even the walls have to protect from the sun. That was the Gemara's question, because that's a novel. What? So the Gemara says exactly what Mr. Batesh says. The source for Reb Oshia that the walls also have to serve similar to schach that protects from the sun is based on the pasuk by the Mishkan that the Torah refers. Right, Mr. Silverman, the Torah refers to the parochet, which is the curtain, which serves as a wall, as a form of a schach. It uses the word of covering, coverage. It says v'sakota. It says v'sakota la'aron et parochet. So what does it mean v'sakota la'aron? It means you place this parochet as a divider. It's separated from the aron. And yet you refer to it as coverage, you refer to it as a language of schach, which means to say a wall has to serve like schach, that it needs to protect from the sun. So that's what he wanted to use this pasuk to tell us, that the walls of a sukkah have to protect from the sun as well. And if the sun will come in through the side, through the walls, that will invalidate the sukkah. If there's more sun than shade. So the Gemara says, what did the Rabbanan do with that pasuk? How did the Rabbanan explain that pasuk, which seems to indicate that the walls also have to protect from the sun? So the Gemara says that they would understand the pasuk means the following: Hahu the nekav beporta. You have to bend the curtain in a way, the merzi, that it looks kischach, that it looks like a covering. What does that mean? The top part of the parochet of the curtain should be bent to form like a covering over the aron. So therefore, make believe this would be the parochet. This is the curtain. Here's the aron, right? So the halacha, the Gemara is saying when they replaced the parochet, they bent it this way. You got it? They bent the top, Mr. Silverman, you got it? They bent the top of the parochet in a way that it's actually covering, serving as a cover of a certain set of sort of protection, covering to the what? Morning. To the aron. And that's why it's called like schach. But really, the wall would not be, we will not say the wall has to protect the morning. Look at that. We will not say that the wall has to protect from the sun. The wall will not be referred to as a schach, as a coverage. It's only the parochet, which is like a wall, it's referred to in the state of covering, like schach, but you actually had to bend the top of the parochet to cover some of the aron. At least it's overhead. It's over the aron. Okay, so that ends that machloket in the Gemara. Now the Gemara comes with the following point. Ama Abaye. Abaye says, Rebbe, we're going to have a very big lineup here in the Gemara. By the way, I just want to remind everyone to say Birkat HaTorah before, if you didn't say Birkat HaTorah yet, you say Birkat HaTorah before you learn. Very important. The Siddur, there's a siddur right outside here. Right outside the room, there's a siddur over here. Abaye says the following. Rebbe, Rabbi Oshia, Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Shimon, Rabbi Gamliel, Rabbi Shammai, Rabbi Elazar, V'acherim, all these rabbis, Kulu Sfir Lahu, Sukkah Diret Kava Bina. For a sukkah to be kosher, it has to be in a way something resembling a Dirat Kava, something that has similarity to a living quarter that's more permanent. What does that mean? The Torah says, "Basukot teishu shivat yamim." Now we know that the sukkah you have to have schach. That schach is something that the rain has ability to come through. We know a sukkah in that aspect is not a permanent dwelling. You could have very strong walls for a sukkah. We said, you could technically take off the roof of a house and use the walls of the house and fill it. If you want to take the roof and put schach and make that your roof, that would be fine. But it's still considered a sukkah because it's still a temporary aspect because it's schach on top. But the question is, how much does it have to resemble a house? Because the Torah says, I want you, basukot teishvu shevat yamim. I want this to be your place of living. And now the question is, what level of living quarters does the Torah want you to have when the Torah says, I want you to live in a sukkah? So Rashi explains that one opinion understands that it has to have some resemblance of a house. This is a place where you're going to be living. You're living here. If you're leaving your house, and this becomes, so to speak, your house throughout the duration of the Yom Tov. So this is your new house. Where are you living now? I'm living here. So therefore, if that's the case, it has to have some sort of looks like a house. And if it doesn't look like a house, so one opinion understands it would be invalid. The sukkah will not be, or not, many opinions in the Gemara, it's not considered a proper sukkah. Rashi also says something that you could use in a more permanent fashion, that a type of thing, a type of place of dwelling. That's one opinion in the Gemara, that the type of sukkah that you need to make in order for it to be kosher has to have some resemblance of a house. It's something that you can use, they have the ability to use over a long period, over some sort of long period of time. So that's so therefore something that you could use, like we said, morning Daganavit, welcome back. So now the Gemara, other opinions say that no, and the halacha would go with the other opinions. We'll see that it could be diras arai, that we don't need to have this aspect that it has to look like a house, that it has to be something that you could use it has abilities to use in a more permanent type of way. Rather, the Torah wants you to live in a temporary dwelling, and that temporary dwelling does not have to have the appearance of a house. A temporary dwelling doesn't have to be something you could use for a more permanent basis. It could be something that you could use just for 7 days. Like the Torah says, I want you to make a sukkah. How long do I want you to make a sukkah for? The Torah says, I want you to make a sukkah. I want you to live in a sukkah for 7 days. So does the Torah mean just make something that you can live for 7 days? Right? So that's how that opinion would understand. You see, one of the commentaries says that the Torah uses the word make chag ha-sukkot tasu lecha shivat yamim. I want you to make a sukkah for 7 days. Many times the pasuk already said 7 days. Why does the Torah repeat itself 7 days? I want you to make the holiday of Sukkah. Right, Dr. Navid? The Torah already said many times. Why do you have to repeat 7 days? The Pnei Yeshua says that the pasuk is emphasizing how you should make the Sukkah. So one holds that when it says, the Torah says, I want you to make a sukkah 7 days, it means I want you to make something that can last for 7 days, period. That's all I want you to have. Something can last 7 days, not permanent, not like a house, something that can last 7 days. That's temporary. However, the other opinion says, that's the way the Pnei Yeshua explains, is that I want you to make a type of structure that could last 7 days, that you don't have to fix it at all, that it remains fine, it remains strong, and that's something like that's more of something that has more of a permanent type of thing that could just last, and you don't have to twink it, whatever the expression is. That's how he wants to explain the argument. So now we're going to see that based on their understanding, the opinion that says that it has to be more resembling of a house. Again, not that it can have a ceiling like we have a regular ceiling of a house, but it should have other aspects of the house, and it has to be something that has the ability to use for a more permanent way. Therefore, many halachot are going to follow as a result of that understanding. And that's what the Gemara is going to bring down. The Tanya, Rebbe, we said Abaye listed Rebbe as of the opinion that a sukkah has to have more of a diras kavah, more of a permanence. Rebbe Omer, the Tanya, kol sukkah she'ein bo 4 amot al 4 amot. You have a sukkah that's not 4 amot by 4 amot, pesula. If you have a sukkah that's not 4 amot by 4 amot, which means, let's say 4 amot by 4 is about 7 feet by 7 feet. If the area of the sukkah is not 7 feet by 7 feet, Rebbe says it's not a kosher sukkah. However, the Chachamim hold no, you don't need such a large area. You can make a very small area, 7 tvachim by 7 tvachim. Let's say 28 inches by 28 inches. A couple of feet, a little over 2 feet by a little over 2 feet with a height of 10 tvachim is good enough. So, meaning it doesn't have to be 7 feet by 7 feet. We know a house, a room to be obligated in mezuzah has to be dalet amot by dalet amot. A room has to be around 7 feet by 7 feet, right? So if it's less than 7 feet by 7 feet, that room does not require a mezuzah. It's not beitecha. It's not a place of real dwelling. It's such a small room. It's not a place of a house. That's not the size of a house, of a room that requires a mezuzah. Good morning, Mr. Datesh. So therefore, the same way a room to be considered a room from mezuzah, to be considered ksavtam al mezuzot and mezuzot beitecha, you have to write it on, you have to put a mezuzah on your house. The same way a house is considered to be called a room of a house, it has to have 7 feet by 7 feet. So too a sukkah, he holds, has to also be, if you have to have some sort of permanence, so resembling a house. Therefore, that opinion holds that in order for a sukkah to be kosher, it has to be a minimum of 7 feet by 7 feet. Now, Rav Oshia, who says that it has to be that even that the walls of the sukkah, good morning, the walls of the sukkah need to protect from the sun. That's also something resembles of a house. The way you make a house that the walls block the sun. That's the normal way people make a house. Sometimes, we have people that we don't find, and therefore, being that that's the case, so therefore, if there's too much sun coming in from the side, that's not going to be kosher. That's Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda. Now, what about Rabbi Yehuda? What did we find for Rabbi Yehuda? Just to bring everybody up to date, there is a discussion here in the Gemara, a dispute among the rabbis. Does a sukkah have to resemble in many ways a house? Of course, we know we have schach, special coverage made out of materials that grow from the ground. The schach are things that are not mekabel tumah, they're not able to receive tumah. The special halachot regarding the schach, how the schach, what could be used for the covering of the sukkah. But the question is, but the general structure, the general makeup of this sukkah, does it have to resemble a house and have the ability to last, to use it for a long period of time? Or it does not require that. It can be totally temporary type of thing. So the Gemara is bringing the opinions that said it has to have more resemblance of a house. And the Gemara is going to show you in what way would that, based on that law, how will be the ramifications, how would it come into play? So the Gemara says that we have a law. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, it's not. It says, Rabbi Yehuda did not, we said Rabbi Yehuda is of the opinion that a sukkah has to resemble a house. And a sukkah has to be something that's more ability to use on a more permanent basis. Did not. Sukkah shigavor l'mayla mechaf amah. A sukkah that's higher than 20 amah, right? If a sukkah is very high, the schach, let's say this would be the ground. And if the ceiling of the sukkah, if the height of the sukkah is more than 20 amot, more than 30 feet, right? You'll notice you don't have a sukkah that's 50 feet high, right? We don't have a sukkah that's 50 feet high, correct? Even though today's day and age and the abilities of people to do the building is very great, but you don't have a sukkah that's so high because the sukkah, the schach, is not allowed to be higher than 20 amot. That means it can't be higher than around 30 feet. Therefore, from your ground, wherever you are, to the schach can't be higher than around 30 feet, which is around 20 amot, which is 30 and 40 feet. But Rabbi Yehuda says, no problem. It can be higher than 30 feet. Higher than 30 feet has resemblance of, that's the way you make something, a more permanent structure. You make something very, very tall. When you're making something and therefore you make something very tall, you would have to make it with good walls, strong foundations. The bigger the building, the bigger the structure, the stronger the foundation. So therefore, he's of the opinion that no, there is this concept of making that's something that's a very positive thing to have it in a way that it's very tall and very strong, because he said that would be kosher, even though we don't hold that way. But he holds, the sukkah has this concept of appearing like a house, being strong like a house in a certain sense. Therefore, he says that structure is kosher. Huda Machshir, Rabbi Shimon, and the Gemara is going to say, I'll show you Rabbi Shimon also is of the opinion that a sukkah should have some aspects of more of a house, more of a permanency. How do we see from Shimon? Because we have the Tanya. We learned in a Braita. The walls of a sukkah. How many walls do you need for a sukkah? So we said a sukkah. The Gemara brought sukkim that said at a sukkah we have one opinion says a sukkah is going to need to be 3 walls, and one opinion says a sukkah requires 4 walls. And then even the opinion that says a sukkah needs 4 walls you only need 3 good walls, and the 4th wall could be very, very narrow, only a tefach, small out. And the other opinion says that you can even have only need 2 good walls, and the 3rd wall a tefach. And we explained there's a lot of details exactly how to make that structure, how to make that sukkah. Lahalacha, we make at least 3 good walls. That's how we do it. But technically, there's a way you can make with 2 walls and a 3rd wall a tefach. But the rabbi that's more strict that says, no, you can't make 2 good walls and the 3rd wall tefach. You need 3 good standing full-size walls. The 4th wall could be a tefach because he's of the opinion that thank you very much, Michael. He's of the opinion that the sukkah has to be more resembling of a house. More resembling of a house, you have more. You don't have two full walls and the 3rd wall at tefach doesn't really do it that bit, right? At least something that has 3 walls, and you have at least you have something that's called 4 walls. Maybe the 4th wall is not a full size wall, but at least you have 3 full walls. And you require a 4th wall, but you could be yotzei the 4th wall with some sort of minimum amount. But that idea that you need 4 walls for a sukkah, according to that opinion, again, that's not the halacha, is also based on the fact that he holds that a sukkah needs to be some sort of resemblance of a house. Is that clear? So that's what the Gemara wants to show that point. Then the Gemara continues.
Rabbi.
Yes.
So I'm sorry to stop the class in the middle, but I still struggle with the schach. You said the wall have to be made out of schach as well?
There's halacha, no, we don't say that. But there is a pasuk in the Torah that uses that. One rabbi says that the way the Torah writes the parochet, the curtain that's in the Mishkan, which is like a wall that separates between the holy and the holy of holies. The Torah refers to it as a cover, as a schach. It uses the word schach. Now we know it's not schach. It's a wall. It's a curtain. So what does it mean? It's schach. So one rabbi says that teaches you that the wall also has to, just like schach that's over protects from the sun, the wall also has to protect from the sun. And if that's the meaning why he refers to, he only uses the word schach by the curtain to indicate that the wall, which is the curtain, has to also protect from the sun. It's not schach. The wall is not schach.
I got you.
But it has the law of schach that it has to also protect. If you have a wall, according to that rabbi, that opinion, and you have a nice wall, but the wall doesn't protect from the sun. Let's say you have a lot of spaces within the wall, that's not considered a good wall according to that rabbi. Because you need to protect the same way that the schach has to protect from the sun. You have to have more schach more shade than sun coming from the top. You also require more shade than sun coming from the side. Is that clear, Mr. Batesh? That's that opinion. But the other opinion says no. We don't care about the sides of the sukkah. We don't care if you have a good wall. I don't care if there's a lot of sun coming in. It still will be kosher. Okay, that's the machloket in the Gemara.
And the last question, you probably talked about it, but I was missing that class. We talk about that the difference between Chol HaMoed and Shabbat, which Chol HaMoed can be a 2.5 walls, but Shabbat required 3 walls. How we solve that one?
Yeah, we spoke about we spoke about on Shabbat of Sukkah. We said that since a Sukkah is kosher with 2 walls and the 3rd wall a tefach, so on the Shabbat of Sukkah, that also will serve as a private domain.
Okay, all right.
That's how we said it. Okay, now the Gemara says I'm going to show you another illustration where a sukkah that one of the rabbis hold that has to be something more resembling something more permanent. Where did we see that? The Gemara says, Rabbi Gamliel, that's not Tanya. We learned in a Braita. What does Rabbi Gamliel say? Oseh sukkatel berosh hagala. If someone goes ahead and he makes a sukkah on the top of a wagon, You have a nice wagon, and you made a sukkah on the top of the wagon. You put you put up some schach, and the question is it a good sukkah? Is it a good sukkah? Not a good sukkah, or barosh hasfina? Well, let's say on the top of the most highest point of the boat, you went ahead and you made a sukkah. You made a sukkah on the top of the boat. So Rabbi Gamliel posel. Rabbi Gamliel says that this type of sukkah is not a good sukkah. This movable sukkah, this is like the movable sukkah, right? Mr. Boaz is enjoying himself over here. What kind of sukkah? You have a sukkah on top of a wagon, top of a boat, right? So he says that the sukkah, because a wagon, since it moves, so since it's a moving thing, it doesn't seem to be, it doesn't have the level of permanency. A home, now we have homes that move, but generally normal homes, historically, a home is a more stable thing, stays in one place, right? So therefore, this opinion says the same way a home stays in one place, it doesn't move. So too, if you make a sukkah on a boat, and the boat, since the boat is moving, well, you make and also the boat, the fact that the issue with the boat seems to be more of a problem that the wind will come, and it's difficult for the boat sometimes to withstand the wind. And being that that's the case, so therefore that opinion says that it's not a good sukkah because of that wind that has the ability to knock out the sukkah.
But they're going to bring, the rabbis bring in the Gemara, they're going to bring that they had sukkah on a ship. Rabbi Akiva.
Right, and that's Rabbi Akiva Mashir. Rabbi Akiva says, no, it's kosher. You can make a sukkah on top of the boat. You can make a sukkah on the wagon. It'll be kosher. The fact that it's temporary type of an item. You know, if this sukkah that's on top of the boat, if you would have made this sukkah on dry land, it would withstand the wind. That's good enough. That sukkah is kosher enough. So we see there's a machloket, there's a fundamental dispute between the rabbis. Does a sukkah have to be something that resembles a house or not? You want to say, I'm going to be going to Israel today to recruit, to talk in the different yeshivot about opportunities, the boys that are going to college campuses, opportunities of learning, because I have a Shabbos program and other things. I work with boys in college campuses. So we have the great Abi Nisim is going to be covering the Gemara, and I'll be back, Bez Hashem, next Tuesday. And I have a 5:15 a.m. arrival. So hopefully I will be back on time if it comes at 5:15 in the morning, if everything works all right. And we thank Abi in advance. Abi is, most of you know Abi, everyone knows Abi. And it will be, I look forward, I'm encouraging everyone to attend while Abi is here as well. The Torah has to go on, and thank you all for being here. And
Rabbi, you're talking about this kind of a sukkah?
Yeah. Those would be good walls. Yeah. Look at that. I'm back in the truck. How do you like that? The sukkah on the truck.
That's my truck, Rabbi.
You gotta put on the schach, Yosef. Where's the schach?
Oh, it's there.
Okay,
Rabbi,
have a great day, everybody. Yeah, but the halacha will be that does not have to be permanent. It could be a temporary. We'll see more on that. Have a great day, everybody.
Bye,
Thank you
Rabbi. Bye.
Bye. Thank you very much. You too. And welcome back, Jaime. Take care. Bye. Have a great day.